Listen, friend, grab a snack, it's something to drink because it's story time. I'm about to tell you how I got into and been out of $13,000 worth of credit card. It was not easy. I did it on my teacher salary for the most part. It took a lot of grit, a lot of growth, a lot of budget, a whole lot of praying. So let's get into it. By 2021, the only type of debt I had was a mortgage and student loans. My car was already totally paid off, and I was steadily chipping away at those student loans. So I did not have any credit card debt at this time. I made one single decision that would put me into $17,000 worth of credit card debt. I used to have a handmade jewelry business. While I was on social media trying to learn some things, I stumbled upon this business community that I absolutely fell in love with. I would gobble up all of the free content. I would be in their Facebook group. I would be a part of the challenges, all of the things. Like being a part of this business community really felt like home. Like I like the people, I like the things that we were learning, the things that I was being exposed to. So I decided to join one of their membership programs. So there's levels to their membership program. So I decided to join that first level. First level was about $90 a month. It was good. I can handle it. Okay. But in true Mickey fashion, that wasn't enough for me. I had to go up to their next level of membership. So that was a little more rigorous. It was more intense. You got more one on one coaching. You got mindset coaching. You had small group coaching. Like you would get discounts on different things that they had coming up. And so I was just like, oh, I just got to be a part of this community. I don't want to do the lower level anymore. Just take me all the way to the top, baby. So that was going to run me $1,700 a month. Mind you, you know a story get good when they say mind you. Mind you, that time that was half of my teacher salary. Half of my teacher salary I was about to pay to be a part of this business community. And that's where it all goes left. So I did not factor in interest payments. I didn't think about compound interest. And on top of that, I would not pay the full balance off every month on the credit card. So I put it on this credit card. And my first thought, now mind you, now this is before I had a budget. I didn't budget back then. But my first thought was I'm gonna put it on the credit card. I'm gonna take half of the first check that I get. I'm gonna put it on there. I'm gonna take the second check that I get and I'm gonna pay the rest and then it will be all paid off. And then I would keep up the cycle for the 12 months that I was in the program. Your girl wasn't doing that. Your girl was not doing that. I came up with the bright idea. I was going to quit my teaching job. Now, me quitting this teaching job didn't have anything to do with the business that I was running. That was a whole another story for another day. But the point is, that same income that I thought I was going to use to pay off the card every month was no longer coming in. Like the handmade jewelry business that I had, it was making money, but it wasn't making enough money to sustain the business itself, to pay off my credit card bill, and to do whatever else that I needed to do at the time. My math was not mathing, but at this point, I had done made the commitment, I had done signed the contract, and I was locked in for the remainder of the year in the $1,700 a month contract. So I stayed out of the classroom for about 6 months. And in this time, I had also kind of dwindled down with doing the business that I was doing as well. For some reason, once I left the classroom, I felt like I didn't have a real purpose. Even though I loved the business that I was doing, I knew that my purpose came from being inside of a school building. So I just wasn't as active as I should have been in the business, especially considering that I didn't have my teacher income anymore. I really should have been working it hard, but I wasn't. Eventually, I did end up going back to the classroom, but the damage was already done. Your girl had already done racked up the payments, racked up the interest. I had done missed payments, and by this time, the bank closed the card. They said, "No, ma'am, you got to go." So the bank ended up closing the card, but I still had to make the payment. Once I went back to work, I did start making the minimum payment. And so I'm making my minimum payments and something one day, probably about 4 years into this process, I started looking at my credit card statement because I couldn't figure out why my balance was still so high and I had been paying and paying on it for, the past 4 years. So I looked on the back of my statement and I can't even remember what ridiculous number it gave me. But basically, I would be old and gray by the time I paid this credit card off if I continued to make the minimum payments that I was making. I was like, oh, hell no. We ain't doing that. The dent had to go. It was a non negotiable. It was a non negotiable for me. I was so ashamed, y'all. I did not tell anybody. I did not tell a soul what I had done. I was like, I can't let anybody know how much debt I have racked up. In fact, I only really started telling people that I had credit card debt probably like a couple months ago. And that point, I was already like, already had paid it down. I was at like $600, left. But I only just started telling people. And not only did I not tell people how much credit card debt I had, I also did not tell people what the credit card debt was from because of course, it was me trying to learn and expand a business that I didn't even have anymore. Nothing to show for it. So you got thousands of dollars in credit card debt, and girl, you don't even have the business. That's crazy. Have y'all ever been in a situation where y'all have been so embarrassed or ashamed of something you've done that you're like, oh, I'm taking this one to the grave? Now, don't tell us in the comments, but just give me, oh yeah, in the comments if you ever done something that was so embarrassing that you was like, oh no, I ain't telling nobody. All right, so this is how I finally ended up getting out of it. By now it's April 2024 and my finances are heavy. They're burdens. And I'm like, girl, you gotta do something. So I was talking to my sister on the phone one day and she was like, well, girl, just go to YouTube. Which is crazy because whenever we want to know how to do anything, we always go to YouTube. So why I didn't think to do that originally, I don't know. So fell down the rabbit hole of personal finance, fell down the rabbit hole of people making horrible decisions, fell down the rabbit hole of people making plans for their money. And then, dun 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 dun. Oh, if you put yourself on a budget, in my mind, I'm like, this is so simple. It was like, why weren't you doing this before? So that's when I decided I gotta get control over this money. I gotta put myself on a budget because it's to go. All right, I got my notes right here because I do not want to miss anything as I tell you exactly what I did. All right, numero uno. So the first thing I did was look at my spending habits. I took the debit card statements from my previous 3 months and I looked at all the transactions I made. I looked at all of the money coming in and all of the money going out. And one thing that I learned from looking at the trends over those last 90 days is that your girl can, okay. Now I already knew that, but my pockets were showing that I spent way too much money eating out. And it wasn't even fine dining. I'm talking about the runs to the fast food places after work. I'm talking about the dinner before the dinner. I'm talking about, oh, I'm at lunch and I'm just going to grab something to eat because that's what everybody else is doing. I'm talking about on my way to work, let me stop to the gas station. I need to get coffee. I was spending way too much money on things that I was consuming in my mouth. So I had to take a look at the things in my life and determine what I was willing to sacrifice. That was my step two. Michaela, do you really need these curtains? Do you really need another piece of home decor? Do you really need that subscription where you get those cleaning supplies every month just because they smell good? I had, I had to think. Step three, I had to create my bare bones budget. This step goals was number two because once I decided what I was willing to sacrifice, I also had to decide what did I absolutely need. What do I need to keep my house running from day to day? What do I need to be able to get to work and back every day? No extra. This is what you call your bare bones budget. Like if the world is ending tomorrow, what do you want? Everything else is getting caught up in the rapture. By this time, I was able to determine how much money I had left over at the end of each pay period in order to throw towards my debt. At this time, I had already done binge watch Uncle Dave Ramsey, so I knew that I needed an emergency fund. So I decided to go with his idea and do the small starter of $1,000. I want to say that I already had $600 saved up. So I knew that for the next couple of checks, I needed to be setting aside whatever I had left over after doing that absolute have to have budget to go towards that $1,000 emergency fund cash stuff. Shortly after I got up my emergency funds, I went on ahead and started cash stuffing because I'm gonna be honest with you. I know that even though I was trying to follow the baby steps, I could not do it to a T. I have three children and a husband. Life was still going to life. So I could not take every extra dollar that I had and put it towards the debt. But what I would do is set aside a little bit of money that I knew I was going to need immediately or within the next couple of weeks. I would cash stuff that, and then everything else would go to the debt. So by July 2024, I had been putting the very least $500 every month toward this debt. But the needle was not moving fast enough for me. Because think about it, this was only April, May, June, July. And for me, it just wasn't enough because at this point I am just ready for the debt to go. I've seen it happen. People have talked about it on social media. I've been hearing these debt-free screens, watching Dave Ramsey. I know it's possible. I need this debt up off me. I was going to leverage credit. So I wanted to improve my credit score and get out of this debt at the same time. Why? I still don't know why I was trying to fight both of those battles, but that's what I decided to do. So I opened one credit card. That credit card was for me to be able to take advantage of the cash back reward. I will only use this credit card when I'm already going to purchase something that I am going to be rewarded for. Case in point, if they say, okay, you get 5% cash back this month if you use this card to go grocery shopping, I will only use it to go grocery shopping. I would still do my budget. I would still set aside a certain amount of money for groceries. I would use the credit card to buy the groceries and then pay the credit card back off. I did that as long as the rewards aligned with what I was already going to buy. I was not buying extra stuff just to get cash back. Only what I was already going to buy, and the money had to already be budgeted out during my payday routine. The second thing I did involving a credit card was the cheat code, y'all. And I'm really mad at everybody that knows about this that did not tell me about this because I'm just now learning about this. But it's okay. The next thing I did was learn about balance transfer credit card. So you mean to tell me that I can all of the debt from this credit card on this credit card that has a better interest rate and pay off this credit card debt fast? And nobody told me. Like, what's paid? So what I did was I started looking for amortization schedules. I hope I'm saying that word right. I would type in how much debt I had left at this point. At this point, it was $13,000 after I had done been paying, I looked to see how long it would take me. I continued to put the amount of money on my credit card that I currently was. And so I was like, okay, I knew I needed to come up with a timeline in order to figure out, okay, if I put this amount of money on it, then I'm going to need X amount of time to pay it off on this new balance transfer credit card. So I decided to jump on Credit Karma. No, this video is not sponsored or anything. It's only like my fourth video, y'all. But anyway, so I decided to jump on Credit Karma. And so I'm searching for balance transfer credit card. I had a couple of things that I needed it to do. I needed it to be a card that was going to give me the limit that I actually needed. So at least the $13,000. I also needed it to be something that was going to be 0%, not 3%, not 5%. I wanted it to be 0%. Because the credit card that I had, I think it was either sitting at 24 or 27% interest. So I wanted a 0% interest credit card. And I needed it to be for at least a year. Anything less than a year was just not going to work for me for the amount of debt I had and the amount of money that I was going to be able to throw. So I looked up because Navy Federal has a balance transfer credit card. I had already established a positive relationship with Navy Federal because I have a checking and a savings account with them. It was a no-brainer to go ahead and go with Navy Federal. They gave me that 0%. They gave me enough money that it would cover that credit card debt. And it allowed me to do this for 12 months. Y'all already know. Oh, I got 12 months to pay down $13,000. We about to make it do what it do. So when I signed up for the card, I made the decision to pull the money that I had set aside from my emergency fund. I had $1,000 and then I had $250 that I was going to be able to pull from a check that I was about to get. Immediately once I opened this card, I went on ahead and put $1,250 on the balance. So that would give me a big jump start for me paying it off. So in my mind, it was just something that I really wanted to do. I just needed to see and feel like I was going to make a dent on this debt. I am very much one of those psychological people that people talk about. If it looks to me like it's working, then baby it's working. And so I needed to see that debt go down to like 11,000 something. So that is what I decided to do. When I'm nervous because all of my little savings is gone and I had already done made a bad decision to get myself in this debt. Now I'm like, can I trust myself to get myself out of this debt in just a year? Like, and it's a scam for real because I'm still going back to the fact that I had never heard of it. So what if it doesn't work? All of the what ifs now comes flooding in. I decided to pour some gas on it. So again, in true Michaela fashion, it just still wasn't moving fast enough for me. In my mind, I'm like, okay, if I pay this amount of money over 12 months, then the credit card will be paid off. Cool. But what if I could increase the amount of money that I put on this credit card? I want to get it paid off in less than a year. I want it paid off in less than a year because I should have never had it in the first place. It started out being $17,000. I paid on it for 4 years. I got it down to $13,000. I put my last little piece of savings on here. Now it's at $11,000 and I want it. So what did I decide to do? I decided to a part-time job. Full-time teacher, mom of 3, 2 of which are active in sports. I decided to get a part-time job. And I got the shirt and the jackets prove it. I wasn't playing no games, y'all. I wanted to get going. So I got this job in September, and I decided that this was going to be my debt cancellation job. So, with the additional income, plus me having an interest free credit card for the next 12 months, I decided to go all in on the debt. I was so invested in getting this debt gone that the direct deposit from this job went straight to my Navy Federal account. It would go to my checking account and I would transfer it straight to that credit card every single time I got paid. It never saw my regular bank account because I was not going to give myself the opportunity to use this money for something other than what I said I was going to use it for. So, y'all, I would get off of work. I would go pick up my oldest from school. We would come home. She would be downstairs in her room because she's 13. She would be downstairs in her room. I would be up here asleep, and I would get myself up at 10 or 11, depending on whatever time I had to be to work at that time, and I was done work. Song tell her I'm your man. You're my girl. I'm gonna tell it to the whole wide world. I'm your girl. And I would work overnight. I would get off. I would come home. I would lay down for an hour and I would be right back up to get myself, my kids ready for school. And I would drop them off. We'll drop my oldest off. My husband took the other two to school. And maybe I would start my day all over. I did that every single day, 4 days a week for months. 4 months. That was not sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. Only thing I was doing during that time was working and sleeping, working and sleeping. I felt like there was too much going on. I felt like I was missing out time with my family, and I was not willing to do that anymore. But I did it for as long as I possibly could without causing any issues in my house or with my family. And so then I eventually resigned. Now, step 7, I had to regroup. So while I appreciated being able to work at the gym and getting a good chunk of that debt going, the debt was not all the way paid off. I had to keep going. I had to redevise a plan. So I just did my process all over again. I stayed in tune with my budget. I looked at how much money I would need to pay from each check to get this debt paid off. And so I still wanted to stick with my plan with paying it off before the year was up. That just was not going to be good enough for me. So I came up with a plan to be able to pay this debt off by April of 2025. And y'all, the rest was history. I literally stuck to that budget. I made the sacrifices. I worked more and worked harder when I needed to, but I stuck to my guns. And by April 2025, I owed absolutely nothing on card. And I was so proud of myself. You can't tell me nothing. Step 8, mindset. This is where a shift happened. This is where I realized that me getting out of the debt did more for me than get me out of debt. Me getting out of debt made me so much more confident in myself, in my abilities, in my level of discipline. And after I got out of debt, girl, I wanted to work out. I said, oh, if I can pay out $13,000, I know I can lose a few pounds. So, I stopped working at the gym, but then I joined the gym. I was going on a regular basis. I don't fell off now, but that's another story for another day. But the point is, I had this new mindset. I had this new outlook on life, and I felt invincible. Now there's literally nothing I can't do. And whenever I feel like I can't do something, I'm like, it's two things I always go to. I'm like, man, I've had 3 C-sections. I've delivered 3 kids. And I paid off $13,000 worth of debt. I can do anything. So paying off debt is really it's not just a mindset shift. It's a heart shift. It's a soul shift. And I really got to experience that when I was able to see that balance at $0. Paying off credit card debt changed my life, but more importantly, it changed me. So that's what I said all that to say. And I proved to myself that I could, in fact, do hard things. And guess what? You can do hard things too. If I, with my teacher salary, getting a part time job, and my little $600 in savings, if I was able to turn that into me paying off $13,000 worth of debt from July to April, you absolutely can. You need you a little mindset reset before you start on your debt journey. You'll drop down to the description. There is a free money mindset guide there in my stand store. Free 99. You don't have to pay for anything. I just want you to sit and I want you to reflect and I want you to get your thoughts and your beliefs about money and what you're able to do together. You want to stay the course, you want to stay encouraged, you need some cheerleaders behind you, you need somebody who's done it to tell you that you can do it also. Subscribe to this channel. Come. I'm trying to build a community of people who are ready to learn, ready to hold themselves accountable, ready to be good stewards of their money. So go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Like if you got some valuable information from this video and share it with somebody who probably needs to go ahead and get on their debt-free journey as well. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. And remember to always keep it classy.